To this week's Sencha webinar. Today, we're gonna be talking about Sencha Architect, what you can do with it. I'm gonna run a simple example with it. And also, we're gonna talk about at the end of what's coming next week. And if we have time, we will also run a simple question and answer module right at the middle. Right at the end, sorry. And so welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to type them inside the GoToWebinar panel. I will be answering them at the end, hopefully all of them. If something I am not able to answer because of time, feel free to send me an email. And last time we had quite a few, so I'm still answering them. But I'll answer through email if I'm not able to answer here. So I am Andres Villalba. I am a Sencha sales engineer, and I usually work with these webinars both in English and Spanish. So once again, welcome, and let's start. So this is gonna be more hands-on. I only have this one slide just to remind everybody that Sencha Architect, it's an application that will empower you and your team to build HTML5 applications by using drag and drop features. It is a low-code tool, meaning you can add some code, but mostly you will be doing drag and drop. And it will allow you to create things quite fast and with a lot of high performance. So today what we're going to be building is this simple example. We have just a panel with some tabs. In the first tab, we'll have a grid. The second tab will have form. And the third tab will have a chart. This is going to be reading from a JSON file, but it could be reading from any backend endpoint that you need. And the form, I'm just gonna create it and show you what it has there and what we can do. I'm gonna create a simple action, but this is just a half-an-hour webinar, so I cannot do a lot more. Hopefully you guys like it, and give me a sec. Hopefully you guys like it, and let's go with it. I'm guessing everybody can see my screen. If somebody's having issues, please let us know in the questions panel. So let me open Architect. I'm gonna create a new project. Okay, I'm seeing that somebody has an issue with the screen, but only one person. If nobody else has this issue, oh, they're not seeing screen. Okay, two people. Give me a second. Can you see it now? Oh, sorry about that. Let me just go through this example right now. So we're gonna be creating something like this. It's got products, form, and a basic chart. I'll show a few more things while we're working with it. I can show you that we can add a simple search order, and also the form. We can have a button and show an action and things like that. So going back to Architect, I'm running the latest version of Sencha Architect, which works with XJS 7.7. If you're running 7.6, it will run fine. What I'm showing right now is not only for 7.7. However, it's a good idea to always be in the latest version so that you don't have any issues with the software. And for this example, I'm just gonna be creating a classic example, meaning I'm gonna be using the classic toolkit. We have both modern and classic. If you remember from previous webinars, they work a little bit different. One is for desktop and the other one is for modern devices. they're not exclusive, meaning I can create something classic and it will run in my mobile phone without an issue. And if I create something modern, it's gonna run my desktop application without an issue either. This is just, it will take advantage of things on mobile, or it will take advantages on things in desktop. That's the only difference. So I'm just gonna create an empty project here with the classic toolkit. It's gonna take a little bit. Once it's done, we can see our screen here. And I'm gonna describe a little bit about it, and then I'm just gonna go through my example. So when you create an architect application, you can see the project inspector on the left. This will show everything you have created so far. You will see the work area in the middle. If you have actual components, you can switch between design and code. And on the right, we have the toolbox to just click and drag whatever we need. Right now, I'm just gonna drag a panel. And you can see how it's going to look right here. And as I was saying, you can look at the code, and you could look at the actual design. And on the bottom right, you have the properties panel. This is contextual. What it means, it depends on what I select, what it's going to show. Right now, I only have one object, but I can move through it, and it's got different options depending on what I select. So let's see. So what I'm gonna do first is create a grid here. Before I do so, it's a good idea to save your project right after you create it, because everything that I want to put in the project, I have to put it inside the folder when I'm gonna save it. So I'm just gonna save right now. It's gonna ask me where to save it. I already had a folder selected, and it also asked me to give it a project name and an application name. This is the actual namespace that it's going to be used, and here could be anything else. So I'm just gonna name it my demo and my app. Click on save. And this, even though it goes back to your work area, this takes a little while. I can actually show you up here. I created my demo. It created my folder, and it's taking a little while because it's creating all the files. What this is actually doing, it's running a command to create your project. And as you can see, things are appearing right now. And since I'm gonna be using a JSON file, I'm just gonna paste it here. It's just a basic JSON file. I'm gonna show it in a few minutes. Don't worry about it. Usually, instead of doing this, what I would have is an endpoint in a different server, and I would load the information from that endpoint. Right now, like I said, this is a simple example, so I'll just load from there. Sorry, I have a sore throat. So if I want to make my panel bigger, I can just click and drag. Have to be careful to have selected actually my panel. As you can see, it's inside the views folder over here, which is what I expected. If I was creating my project with code, I would also create a views folder and would put my files in there. And as you can see here, I also have a controllers, stores, models, and resources. Today, we're gonna be working with views, stores, and models. It's still working on it, as you can see. How do I know when everything is ready? After I save, I can save with this button or over here. This icon here, the preview icon, is gonna become live. Right now, it's kind of grayed out, meaning I cannot test my application. Once this is ready, I will be able to click it. As you can see, right now it is back to normal. I'm gonna click it. Right now, I don't have to update anything here. I can add some options. I can use Sencha Watch if I want to test my application. But as you can see, this is what I have. And it looks exactly how it was looking back here. Okay. So I created this panel. This is just a basic panel. I have some options up here where I want to dock it, I can change the layout, which I will do in a few minutes. But what I want inside of it, it's a grid. So I'll go to grids, click on grid panel and drag it over here. Okay, somebody's telling me that there's a little bit of delay with the video. Let me just stop sharing my screen and share it again and see if that helps out. Let's do it this way. Hopefully you can see it again. Let me know if you guys can or cannot see it. I'm gonna continue explaining. If you cannot see it, let me know, please. Going back to this, so I created this grid. Right now I have a panel with a grid inside, and both of them have titles. So this is kind of confusing. I'm gonna remove the one inside, which is the grid panel. As you can see, I can also see it here. This is my panel, and this is the grid panel. So let me just look for the title property. I'm gonna just click on clear, and now only the main panel has the actual title, which I'm gonna change. I'm just gonna name it product list. And as I was saying, right now, as you can see, I'm using the auto layout, so the contents are kind of short. Gonna select the layout as fit for the whole panel. And as you can see now, the grid matches the height that I have available from the main panel. Also, as you can see right now, the actual name for my class is my panel. The way I change that name is selecting the actual panel and going to the properties and just look for user class name. If you forget it, just remember user. If I type user, it's here. I'm just gonna name it my actually product grid. So it makes more sense here. Okay, so I have created right now a basic panel with a basic grid. Just gonna save it again, test it. And this is how it looks. It doesn't have any information. I can create some dummy information, but I don't want to. I'm actually gonna get the correct information. So let's go back over here. To get the data from the backend, what I usually do is I create a model and a store. I can create the store first and then the model. However, this time I'm just gonna create a model first. The way I do it is in the project inspector, click on the plus sign and create a new model. So you can see it's here. Before I forget, I'm just gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call it a products model. Once again, it changed here and here. And what I want to do here is actually create the fields for the model. This is gonna define and explain exactly which columns I'm gonna have. I'm gonna click on the plus sign. I can add one by one, or I can just add a comma separated list here. So I added ID, comma, product name, comma, stock, comma, description, comma, price, comma, active. I hit enter and it's gonna add all of them. And as you can see, they are also here. I can go in and change the type if I want to, which right now is auto. I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. So I have a product model. Now I'm gonna create a store. The store is actually the object, the class that is gonna connect with the backend, in this case, our JSON file. So I'm just gonna click the plus sign and I'm gonna create a store. I know it is a JSON store, so I'm just gonna select that one. And see that right now it gives me a warning. This is happening because it doesn't have a model. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. With the JSON store selected, I'm gonna look for model here. And since I have already created it, it's showing as the only option. Sorry about that. Here. And now that I have it, the warning sign over here is gone. Now, also I'm gonna change the name. So instead of my JSON store, I'm gonna call it products store. And to connect it, I'm gonna go into my Ajax project proxy, sorry. And from there, I can look for a property that it's called URL. It's here. And here, what I have to type is the actual URL. Right now, it's a relative address since it's in the same folder. But if it's a different server, I can specify the whole URL here. And before I forget, something also useful that I have to do, it's to tell the store to auto load. If I don't do it, I have to add the code later on to go and query the backend. If I do it this way, when the store is loaded, it's actually load all the information with it. So right now I'm almost done. Let me save. If I test it, it's still not connected to me to my actual view. So I'm just gonna be seeing the same thing. So what I have to do next, it's just connected, which is quite simple here with Sencha Architect. I'll go back to the view, the product grid, right click on it, and give me a second. Sorry, not the product grid, because this is the panel, the actual grid, which is this one. Right click on it, and I have a grid builder. So if I select the model, which I didn't, give me a second. If I select the model, the store, it's gonna work correctly. I was missing that step. So I'll go to the grid panel, look for the store. Oh, I forgot how to type it. It's here. Right now it is connected, but as you can see, it's showing not correctly. So once again, I'll go to my grid builder. Now it has the actual store and model selected. It's telling me to use this existing model, so I don't have to create a new one. It's showing me what's reading from the model, and it's asking me if I want to delete those default columns that I had, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I said to get rid of them. I'll click on generate, and it's done. It's here. Let me save, and let me test it, see that everything works. And as you can see, it's loading the information from the backend. Okay, if I forgot to check the auto load option here on the store, what would happen is it will show information here in Architect, but once I test it, it's gonna be empty. That means you guys forgot to check the auto load option. So let's go back to the grid. What can I do here? When, well, one of the things I can do is change the width for each column. For example, for ID, just gonna click on width. I can make it a specific width, let's say 80 pixels. For product name, instead of width, I'm gonna use flex and just tell it to use one unit. For stock, I'm gonna use a fixed width too, let's say 100. For description, I'm also gonna use a flex value. I'm gonna give it 2 units, meaning it's gonna be double the size, whatever product name is. I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'm gonna leave the other two like that. By default, it's leaving those two at 100 pixels. Let me save it. Sorry, before I test it again, I'm gonna add a plugin to my grid. So I'm just gonna select the grid again. I'm gonna try plug. There is grid plugins. Click on add, and I'm gonna add the grid filters plugin. What this will allow me to do is to add filters for each column. This is just activating the plugin. If I want to add a filter, have to click on the column, look for the filter property, click on plus sign, and I know this is a number, so I'm just gonna call it number filter. And for this other one, same deal. This is text, so I'm gonna say this is string filter. And for the last one, I'm just gonna do the same thing and say that it's Boolean. We have other filters, but right now, I think these three covered the whole example. Let me save it again, and let's test it. So here's the grid. As you can see, now the size matches what I just did. We can sort, that's by default active, by any column. We can also search by using filters, as you can see here. So I'm just gonna ask it, show me row number 20. And there it is, it's working. Or I can say, show me everything above 30. And now it's showing me 31 and above. I can also search for a different column. As you can see, here it is. Have filters on both columns. Let me just take that out. And I didn't add a filter for stock. I didn't add a filter for description, nor I did for price. As you can see, it is working. Okay, so those are some basic options that we have on grids. As you can see, when I selected the grid, when I showed you the plugins, as you can see, we have a lot more. We can add cell editing, row editing. We have grid exporter. If you have the enterprise version of XGS, this will be available. And we have a few others. Right now, I cannot go through them because we don't have that much time left. So let me save again, and I'm gonna create a new view. I'm gonna go a little bit faster because we don't have that much time. So sorry. So the way I'm gonna create a new view, I'm just gonna grab a container, once again a panel, grab it and drop it into view. Just gonna rename this as form. Let me change the user class name form. It is there. What I can do here is I can add my own fields, but to do so, the best idea is to add a form panel inside my panel. Same deal, the main panel, I'm just gonna say fit. And my form, I'm gonna remove the actual title from it. And I can just start throwing fields in there. Let's say a date field. What is it that I'm looking for? A text area, text field. Let's say a tag field and a time field. And same deal, I can just double click and say and change the actual text. I can go in and change the information, the name, the value over here. I don't have enough time to actually do it. But also what I do want to show you is that I can grab a toolbar, drop it. It's gonna be on top, but I can click here and just throw it to the bottom. I'm gonna put a button in there. And just like the other example, I'm just gonna name it save. And I'm gonna add an event. How? I'm just gonna click on that button. And I'm gonna look for event and create a basic event, which is gonna be a click event here. Why am I doing this? Just to show you a little bit of code, something really simple. So once I have done this, as you can see here in the inspector, I now have the event. I'm just gonna double click it. It's gonna send me to the code. It's hard to see, but it's down here. It says on button click because that's the name of my button. I mean button per se. And here I can just do whatever I want. I can submit the form. I can do whatever I need just for the time we have. Right now, I'm just gonna run an alert message. I'm just gonna say message and I'm gonna say saved. And click on the check mark over here. If it's correct, it will allow me to continue. Let's click on save. And right now, what it's going to do if I test, it's just gonna show me the product grid because I have this icon over here. This means this is the first page we're gonna see. So right now I'm just gonna mark form as my initial view, save again, test. And I have everything a little bit mixed up over here, but it is here, and here's the button. Let's see. I don't think it had time to actually recreate the whole form. Remember that every time you save, it's creating the project. I think I did it before time. Anyways, if I want to put both of them inside, actually I know what happens. No, it's fine. If I want to put both of them inside another view, what I did for the previous example, it's I also went into containers. I created a tab panel, and I deleted the existing panels. Actually, it's not gonna allow me to delete that last one. I'll do it in a sec. And I just grab the product grid and drop it on my tab panel. It's gonna ask me, do you want to move product grid inside? Do you wanna create a copy, or do you want to link it? The best idea is to link it. That way I still have my user class up here, and I have it just as a link here. I'm gonna do the same thing for form. And if I go back to my tab panel, I'm just gonna delete the tab 3 there. My tab panel is a little bit small, so I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger, say like that. So you can see I can test it here. Let's just save. I don't have much time for actually debugging. Hopefully the form shows up fine. Oh, my mistake, I forgot to move this initial icon over here. Save, test. So now I have both tabs up there. Yeah, there's a mistake on my side here. Sorry about that. Let's go back. And that's how it works, and that's how simple it is. If I want to create a new view, I can do it the same way. Sorry, I can just grab another panel, drop it on other views. I can call this chart. I can go into charts. Where is it? Here. I can grab the chart I want. Let's say a column chart, and just connect it. Right now, sorry about that. We don't have time. This is a short webinar. So basically, all I can do right now is just put it there, tell you that there's a store also here to have it connect. I'm selecting the same one. And I also need to specify the actual columns that I'm gonna be using. If it works on the first try, gonna call it a day. If not, sorry about that. Let's say I want to show the stuff. There it is. Save. If you guys, I'm about to finish. If you guys have questions, please feel free to type them in right now. I only have a couple of minutes left. That's it. If I don't get to your questions, once again, please send them. I forgot to link it. Please send them to my email. I'll show it in a sec once again. I just want to show you the result. Here it is. I got the product list. I got the form with my mistake, and I have the chart. I didn't get the actual time to put the actual values here. To show them, I have to just go to category axis and numeric axis and select the correct ones. Right now, I cannot do it. We will be sharing the recording for this. It will be on YouTube. So if you guys want to do it a little bit slower, take your time, run through it, try it yourselves, I think it's the best idea. What else? Since it's gonna be there, my email is gonna be there in the video, so you can just contact me through there. Right now, as you can see, it's here. I don't have the time, but we can also rotate these values over here, the categories, so that they don't mix together, and we can actually see them. We could have them vertical. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. Once again, here's my email. Thank you for joining. Next week, we will have another webinar. This one will be by Marcus Mano. He will be talking about open tooling. So hopefully you guys can join us too. Appreciate your time. Once again, thank you and see you next week.